Hey everyone. So I did read your comments. So I did end up getting a phone holder. So now my hand won't be shaking the phone around. Not that there's much to see, anyways. It's all rainy out, and I don't really want to dox myself any more than I am. But anyways, so yeah, I just got out of seeing The Lighthouse, and this is probably the first movie that's left me completely speechless or thoughtless at the end. Um, my mouth was just hanging agape after this movie. Sorry, somebody just closed their door next to me. But yeah, I think the best way to think about this movie is it's like the anti-Joker. Now, I haven't seen the Joker yet because, well, everybody's going to see that movie because they live in a society. I saw this movie because being stranded in a lighthouse all alone, or at least just with Willem Dafoe, does appeal to me. And joking aside, it feels like I think the point of the Joker movie, at least from what I've heard, and the character of the Joker is somebody who the issues of society drives them insane. This is the opposite, wherein when you don't live in a society, how completely insane you'll get. And the thing is, it's a very simple plot to explain. It's Willem Dafoe is an old, salty, former sailor, we think, who hires a new hand or a new guy played by Robert Pattinson. Um, they take care of a lighthouse together. It's their new shift, but a couple weeks in, so he's like the young, worker in his 20s. He's the old salt, trying to get along, forming a friendship, even though he's like constantly working. Robert Pattinson keeps calling him a dog, come on, lad. He has a great. Willem Dafoe is a joy in this movie. He's cosplaying as the Gordon's fisherman, and he's just going, "I me hearties," and the classic Herman Melville, sailor dialect. But it's a very simple story of the two go to a remote lighthouse in the middle of nowhere. It's set in the late 1800s, early 1900s. It's in black and white, 4:3, like real movies used to be. And they get stranded there because the person that's supposed to take them away after a few weeks, they can't get there because Robert Pattinson unleashed a curse by killing a seagull, which is bad luck because they're said to carry the souls of sailors. So a giant storm goes in for weeks and weeks, and they're stuck there with nothing but a huge amount of alcohol and each other, and they go insane. Namely, Robert Pattinson goes more insane than Willem Dafoe. And it's a movie just about these two characters. There's nobody else in the movie aside from two people we barely see, just the last two people from the White House switching over. And yeah, and it's a very slow movie. It's about 2 hours long, and the first half of it is just Willem Dafoe basically ordering around Robert Pattinson to, swab to clean the house that they're living in and to, work everything and to make sure everything's spick and span. And it's as somebody who has worked in somewhat in 19th century conditions for a job I used to do, yeah, I can relate a bit. It's hard work, and it's not rewarding, and you don't get any of the benefits of modern technology or common sense. But you do appreciate the work they did back then. Like him in this like makeshift harness trying to like wash off the outside of the lighthouse. But the big conflict and what sort of has the madness go around is the fact that Robert Pattinson, whose name is Winslow, and Willem Dafoe's character's name is Tom, is Winslow wants to go into the lighthouse itself. He wants to be the one on watch, and Willem Dafoe, very oddly, he's not just like, no, it's my job, you're just a rookie or something like that. He's just insistent, no, this is my gig. This is my job. You're not allowed to do this. But yeah, so it's a nice sort of, it looks like a really old movie, like something like Ingmar Bergman and just classical movie stuff, but it does things you could not get away with back then. Now, originally, the first thing I heard about this movie is Robert Pattinson gets it on with a mermaid. That was one of the advertisements, and I had no idea what to think. I thought, is this going to be like an Oscar bait? Like, oh, like this old classic tale. Like we all know kind of what an Oscar bait movie is like. Is it going to be some, you know, abstract, bizarre horror movie, which it was, thankfully, or is it going to be like some creature thing of like some Cthulhu-like monster from the deep, kills them? And really, it's more just Robert Pattinson goes slowly insane. Not quite that slowly. That's one of the few gripes I had with the movie, is like he almost immediately is a little just pissed off and angry at Willem Dafoe for doing what a boss does and, ordering him around. Um, but yeah, it's in black. As I said, it's in black and white. Movie looks great. Just the for the first like 10 minutes, there's no talking, and it's just the sound of the ocean and a little bit of light music. But as things go more insane, it does get kind of funny, because I think my favorite shot from the movie is, because we don't really know whether or not it's Winslow or Tom who's really more insane. They're kind of both collectively going crazy, but by the end it's clear it's Winslow's the more insane one. But in any case, like during one of those bizarre sequences, he's like trying to fish, and he thinks he sees a severed head in the lobster trap. And he gets an axe and he tries to murder Tom, or is Tom trying to murder him? Because in the shot, it shows Tom, who's Willem Dafoe, dressed like the Gordon's fisherman, with an axe, screaming and chasing Robert Pattinson, which was a delight. But then when they're just arguing inside the house, Tom says, "No, you were the one who was chasing me with the axe." And we don't, and the great part is we don't really know, because they're both insane and they're also completely drunk half the movie. And you think, oh, okay, maybe that's explains a bit why they're going insane. But yeah, what else? Don't take the kids to see this, and don't see this if you're a man-child either, because Robert Pattinson's character kind of acts like kind of like an incel, or he's kind of like this young loser who, of course, he's not. He does do his work, but he sort of has that attitude of like a modern millennial, which of course does not go well in the late 1800s when, you're a real human being. But we do learn eventually, spoilers, that actually Winslow, he used to work in a timber mill in Canada, and he basically he snapped there as well and killed somebody, or he let the guy got trapped in the logs named Winslow. His actual name was Tom as well, and he just let him get sucked into the mill. And so he took a new name. He's like, I can just start a whole new life. And again, it's, for the first half of the movie, it really sets up this nice character dynamic between Tom and Winslow. I'll just call them that, or Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. And I just can't stress enough, like, Robert Pattinson, of course, we all know him from the critically acclaimed Twilight films, or as Cedric Diggory from Harry Potter. But anyways, sorry. But anyways, he's a good actor. He has a mustache, and he does some unsavory things that I don't want to say, that are very bizarre, but they're kind of just to show how crazy he's getting and how isolated he is. Well, I'll just say, he jerks off to a little statuette he finds of a mermaid. Now, yeah, he's a lone man, all alone with another guy. Thankfully, that never happens. And that was the fantasy of many sailors who have been out at sea too long, or are too far away, is the sirens of the ocean. Now, of course, how the anatomy would work with that, I don't know, because they're half fish. But I digress. It is a bit of there's a very clear divide between the first and second half of the movie. The first half is just really good, just sort of super grounded, him working and them, slowly forming a relationship with each other. And it's all good. But this may have been one of the few movies that has actually scared me without jump scares, because this movie does not have any jump scares. The horror really, like, I was genuinely terrified at the end, at the very end, and again, spoiler warning, he kills Willem Dafoe in a psychotic rage. He tries to bury him alive and steals his key to the lighthouse, because Willem Dafoe has a key, and that lets him into this gate that gets up to the top of the lighthouse. And after he buries him, he buries him alive. Well, Willem Dafoe has there's numerous monologues, but Willem Dafoe's are the best, where he's just screaming like a lunatic about, or he's like on these long diatribes about Neptune or Trident will curse ye to the depths of Davy Jones. It's wonderful. Robert Pattinson does it as well, but he's just more complaining. But yeah, he kills him, and then he comes back because he wasn't quite dead, because Robert Pattinson just put a bit of dirt on his face. He tries to attack him, and then he just he gets killed by an axe, and Robert Pattinson, Winslow, Tom, whatever, finally gets into the lighthouse. And then what's amazing is it's just this flat shot of the light in the lighthouse, and it looks like this otherworldly ethereal crystal. It's even though it just looks like a normal lighthouse lantern, but it's just it's so stark from everything else in the movie, and it's horrifying. It's sort of it's almost like how the Bible describes angels as being sort of both beautiful and horrifying. It's kind of like that, but then one of the little windows in it opens, and we don't see what's inside, but Robert Pattinson just looks in it, and he's got blood all over his face, and he just starts screaming, and it's they have it so it's if you scream really, really loud into a microphone, so you just sort of break the audio, but they lower the volume a lot, and it just sort of blends in with this sort of roaring, and it's horrifying, just him opening his mouth, which is all I was doing after the movie ended. And then he slips and falls down the lighthouse. I don't know how he gets outside, or maybe he survived the fall, but it ends him with he almost looks like a fish, or his eyes have been pecked out, and seagulls, getting their revenge. The dead sailors getting their revenge on this Canuck, or this guy who killed somebody in Canada, pecking his innards out, and him just moaning there and shaking. And then it ends, and they just play this happy, super happy sea shanty song, and the reaction of the audience was really fascinating, because I thought, again, my dream is to be the only person in a theater. Usually there's one or two more people there, but there was quite a few, and it was a lot of middle-aged couples, because I think they thought this is going to be some Oscar, this Oscar movie of this, it's just going to focus on these characters. But no, it's a surreal horror film that combines things you're allowed to do in modern movies with a lot of the style of films from the 50s and 60s. Yeah, there was no Cthulhu tentacle monster, but if you did want to see a shot of a psychopathic drunk Robert Pattinson getting choked out by tentacles, you'll get to see this movie. But if you're like me and really wanted to see Willem Dafoe dressed as the Gordon's fisherman chasing down Robert Pattinson with an axe and screaming, this is the best movie ever. Now, I think this might be, of all the movies I've seen this year, this is probably going to be tied with, well, no, Alita Battle Angel is the best movie I've seen all year, then probably this. But yeah, I was not expecting this to be a great horror movie, because again, I don't get scared very easily anymore. I just really need to be in the mood, I need to be completely alone, but yeah, this did it, and did it with no jump scares whatsoever. But yeah, just again, the some of the conversations are just so witty, and one of them is they're both completely drunk, and Willem Dafoe gives this long-winded, just you're cursed to the depths of Poseidon or whatever, of the ocean, and because Robert Pattinson is really drunk as he is through half the movie and is like, I don't like your cooking. And he's like, you like me lobster though, don't you, lad? And he's like, after this long diatribe, Robert Pattinson's just like sitting in a corner. He's like, yeah, okay, I like your cooking. But I don't know. I gave away a lot, but because it's very bizarre. Just the way I felt about this movie is like it was both. It was the most mundane, boring things you could imagine. Just a guy doing manual labor, and like he's not really quite crazy yet. He hasn't snapped, but it's still really engaging because of all the cinematography and just those two characters. In any case, that's my review. It's dark and rainy out, and I want to go to the bookstore. Hope you like the review. God bless, and have a happy Halloween.